Alert, the man who helped bring that system to Kerr County, says leaders have lost sight of the value of that emergency system.
A few more rain chances ahead of us before things quiet down completely. We'll get to that along with how much rain has fallen over the past 7 days, and the new drought monitor is in. News at 5 starts right now.
In less than 24 hours, President Donald Trump will visit the Texas Hill Country. He'll be there to survey the areas impacted by the deadly floods of the 4th of July. First Lady Melania Trump also expected to join the president. On Sunday, President Trump signed a disaster declaration to help the state of Texas. And since last night, the number of people who have died in the floods and who are missing remain the same. Across the state, there have been at least 119 deaths and at least 173 people still missing. A majority of that comes from Kerr County. 96 deaths have been reported there, including 60 adults and 36 children, and at least 161 people still missing out of Kerr County. Now we have an update on a story that we've been following since we first broke it Tuesday on the Night Beat. A more than hour-long delay in sending out a code red alert that would have urged people to go to higher ground. Dylan Collier joining us live from Ingram as we learn more about what took so long. Dylan.
Myra, we spoke with John David Trollinger, Kerr County's former longtime IT director. He pushed for the county to start using Code Red 16 years ago and says current leadership lost sight of the valuable role it could have played.
I knew. Big event. It's going to flood. It's going to be a big flood is what I was thinking at 3 o'clock.
Weather and aviation enthusiast John David Trollinger was listening in his home's radio room early Friday.
The water is high. It's very risky.
As the first water rescues on the Guadalupe River took place, Trollinger wrote in his notes well before 4 a.m. that a code red alert should be issued. At 4:22 a.m., a firefighter in Hunt made that exact request. Trollinger recorded the interaction between first responder and dispatcher.
Is there any way we can send a code red out to our Hunt residents asking them to find higher ground?
10-4 standby. We have to get that approved with our supervisor.
And while Trollinger says it was standard to get a supervisor's approval to send a code red during his tenure with the county, the hour and 12 minutes it took to finally get the message out
That's the problem.
was anything but standard, adding a county that made a huge public relations push to get people to sign up for the free service, waited much too long to activate it during Friday's deadly conditions.
I think the institutional memory of what the river can do was lost.
Trollinger says the emergency response from rescuers and dispatchers was as good as it possibly could have been since there was no alert in place. We've been asking Kerr County leaders for days now about that delayed messaging. They have told us those answers will come at a later time. Reporting live in Ingram tonight, Dylan Collier, KSAT 12 News.
And we will keep asking. Dylan, thank you. A community theater in Ingram is key to that area and so beloved. It was flooded during the storm, and our Courtney Friedman was able to get a tour of what is left there now. Courtney is live.
Just beyond these trees, the volunteers are working hard, so we did give them some space. But beyond these trees is the Hill Country Arts Foundation Point Theater, a beloved piece of this community, bringing people comfort, a place where everyone could go. So take a look what we saw today inside. On the 4th of July, there was mud and water feet up into the walls. It sustained a ton of damage. The whole complex flooded. The floors caved in. The walls are tilted. The roof of the indoor theater is so unstable that we could not walk in there. The hallways are gutted with volunteers working tirelessly to clean it up. The brand new ceramic studio also took on feet of water.
It seemed like the water filled up the building and then just pushed everything out the windows.
Oh, so the water is what broke the windows.
Oh, yeah.
The beloved outdoor theater used to be enclosed on 3 sides, and those massive walls were ripped away by the flood. So they plan to rebuild, but it will take over $1 million, and they are hoping the community will step up to help them. But it's obviously not the building that is top of mind, as members of this small and tight-knit community they lost a lot of people they loved, people who were actors and neighbors in that theater. And so tonight at 6, Sarah is going to go into detail about how they are honoring the people they lost by rebuilding this theater. For now, we're live in Ingram, and I wanted to toss this to Adam Caskey by saying it is very hot out here. We know that the first responders are struggling. We talked to some of them earlier, Adam, and this heat is making it difficult, but there is a slight breeze that, at least for us, has been helpful.
Yeah, and right now I just checked the latest temperature, Kerrville, 90 degrees, but feels like 93 when you factor in that really thick humidity. And with the peak heating of the sun, you know, this time of day, that sun beating down on those first responders, that's really what zaps them. All right, so going forward, rain chances, 10% chance tomorrow. I mean, 1 or 2 could pop up on the radar screen. That's about it. Saturday, we're at a 30% chance, so some very widely separated downpours likely to pop up just in the afternoon hours, and a 20% chance on Sunday. Next week, we are looking high and dry. Still a little bit of energy near Texas and parts of Texas and over parts of Texas. But what we're watching going forward, especially by Monday, the upper level high that's off to our east. This is going to be pushing westward, and that's going to be settling overhead by Monday. So the upper level heat high, it's not going to be triple digits, but that heat high is going to be overhead. And it's going to keep us dry, basically a dry high. Let's look at it that way. Overall rainfall potential over the next 7 days, pretty limited around here. That's good. I don't foresee any flood threats, maybe just some localized street flooding here and there on Saturday from some isolated downpours. But it's mainly up in the Panhandle and West Texas and even into New Mexico, where most of the energy is going to be focused over the next few days. Then the upper level high sets in and the entire state dries out Monday and through next week. The new drought monitor is in. We'll look at that along with the astonishing 7-day rainfall totals, not just here, but some locations to the north of us in just a bit.
All right, thank you, Adam. Let's get a check of traffic out there right now. We're going to take you to Loop 410 at Jackson Keller. Looks like the eastbound lanes there. Heavy really in both directions, but no major backups. Traffic moving along for this 5 o'clock commute. You know, a lot of survivors of the Hill Country floods now have to replace some important documents, things they need like driver's licenses or other IDs. On social media, the Kerr County Sheriff's Office saying that people can do that by going to the Texas DPS office in Kerrville. You don't have to have an appointment. That's located at 311 Sidney Baker Street South. Help also available for people who have lost their eyeglasses and contacts. Eye centers in Kerrville and San Antonio offering free replacements for prescription glasses. That includes Texas State Optical in Kerrville and Eye Care San Antonio. For more information, scan that QR code that's there in the corner of your screen. That will take you to our website where you will find a list of locations and the requirements. Some animals that were rescued in the Austin area are now in San Antonio at our city's Animal Care Services. These animals were brought in from Williamson County Regional Animal Shelter to help make room for all of the displaced pets that they were seeing because of flooding near Austin. More than 100 volunteers showed up today to help with the more than 50 dogs and cats in need.
I'm here because, you know, there's so many displaced animals and they all need help, and so I just came out to help them out. It's amazing to see how many people came out. Yeah. You know, and of course spending time with dogs is, you know, one of those rewards.
Now, this is just a temporary stop for these animals. Starting tomorrow, they will be flown to states in the Northeast and be placed up for adoption there. And as San Antonio Animal Care Services helps out these furry friends, they are in need of more volunteers. In a press release, they said that volunteers can expect to help with preparing kennels for use, walk-in care for the animals, assisting with kennel duties, and support for emergency response, rather. For more information, you can find that at KSAT.com. After the break, we'll continue our team coverage. Let's go out now to Zaria Oates, who is live in Ingram. Zaria.
Hey, Myra. Yeah, we're live in Ingram, just between Cade Loop South and just on the side of State Highway 39, where a lot of the damage can still be seen from those Hill Country floods. We'll come to you in just a little bit with what first responders have to say about this damage.
You know, the number of missing people after this flooding disaster has been a source of confusion, and Texas officials are working to clarify who is truly missing after this disaster. While at least 173 people have been reported missing, authorities now saying that some of the names were counted twice or some of those people have been found safe. The search, of course, continuing tonight under all the tough conditions that first responders are dealing with, but officials urging the public to update them if their loved ones are accounted for or if your loved one is still missing. The number to call is 830-258-1111 for missing person information. Happening right now, the Canyon Lake area still under a boil water notice. This was issued by the Texas Water Company following that severe flooding along the Guadalupe. The company saying that flooding caused an influx of debris and sediment into Canyon Lake. However, they do say that water quality at their treatment facility is improving, but that boil water notice still in effect. For a list of affected areas, you can scan the QR code there on your screen. Customers are advised to boil water for drinking, cooking, making ice, and personal hygiene, things like showering and brushing your teeth. Nearly a week after the deadly flood swept through the hill country, the city of Ingram is still working to find loved ones, find belongings, property. Zaria Oates is in Ingram at a part of the Guadalupe River, Zaria, that we haven't seen before, and you're bringing us the latest on a joint recovery operation there, Zaria.
Hey, Myra. Yes, several entities, volunteers, and paid employees are working to recover the area here, both finding people who have either been missing or have been looking for other people, and then also locating people's belongings. The first thing I want to show you over here, we're just outside of State Highway 39, which has seen some serious traffic and some closure parts. But right here, the ground is still destroyed. It's crumbling just on the side of the road here. You can still see that there are cars moving on State Highway 39, and if you can tell, there's quite a bit of traffic. When we were coming out here with the sheriff. He told us that this traffic is here because there is a checkpoint to make sure that the people going into some of these areas that have been devastated are actually supposed to be here. They're either first responders or they're volunteers helping out as needed. Another thing that we've been seeing is some of the damage here. This is on the Guadalupe River near Cade Loop South, which is a bridge just on the other side of the river over there. This is some of the damage that people have been able to clear out of the river. So these are debris that were in the Guadalupe River up until this morning, actually. He tells me that crews have been working all day to clear the debris out from this area because all of this underneath that bridge and in the river were lifted up to the point underneath the river. So they were stacked up high to right underneath the river. Another thing that first responders are telling us is that something that was a little bit jarring to them is that as they've been looking for people, as their search and recovery efforts have been ongoing, they have been going to look for people in the water. They have been going to recover vehicles in the water, and they haven't even known that the vehicles were there until they got much closer. Another thing that we're noticing are clothing items, life jackets still in trees up extremely high. First responders are telling us that there are still vehicles up in trees in some parts of the area in the hill country. We've also been working with first responders to figure out exactly what the volunteer situation looks like and why there are so many and how there are so many volunteers. Take a listen.
A lot of us came from a long ways away to volunteer for this, and we've been at it for 4 or 5 days. They've been at it since it started, and they've been working 20 hours a day for the last 5 days. They're exhausted, so we're giving them a little bit of a break, and we'll take over, and whenever they're rested up, they'll be back out here.
One of the things we were also told is that if you are coming out to volunteer, like so many people are, either from the hill country, from San Antonio, from Austin, or even further out, make sure you're checking in with first responders. You're stopping in at the Ingram Volunteer Fire Department to check in. Let them know that you're volunteering. Get a vest, get a hard hat, get some equipment so that 1, you're being safe, and 2, you're accounted for should, unfortunately, if there is any weather that comes out here that makes this an even more dangerous situation, they know where to find you. They know where you're looking. Another reason they wanted to make sure that people are checking in is because they want to make sure they're not double dipping If an area has already been checked by someone or a large group of people, they want to make sure that we're continuing to push those efforts either downstream or upstream as needed. And so people checking in before they go out to volunteer on their own will help those efforts be spread further across the hill country and hopefully tackle this disaster a little bit more seamlessly. Coming up at 6, we'll hear more from those first responders about what things have looked like over the past few days in these search and rescue efforts in the hill country. Live in Ingram, I'm Zaria Oates.
Zaria, I appreciate you saying all of that about how to volunteer the right way, because we know so many people, especially right here in San Antonio, still very interested in that. All right, Adam, we know that we needed the rain. We did not want it in this way, but we're getting a better idea of the impact on the drought.
Yeah, and obviously the drought monitor, really the least of our concerns right now with all the loss of life. But I want to show you some changes that have been made. And we look at last week with the exceptional drought area this time last week, kind of this avocado shape. I'm going to outline it in white here. And then you had the significant rainfall and flooding, and it really only made a difference by a couple of categories of drought. And I think part of the reason why is, it came so fast and ran off so quickly. A lot of that water rushed down the river, obviously, and ended up in Canyon Lake. So now we still have the extreme drought over San Antonio, exceptional in Medina County. And Medina County did get a decent amount of rain, so that may be a little aggressive. But anyway, that's the analysis right now. Reservoirs, the lakes. Canyon up to 64%. That's up from 46% full before the heavy rainfall and the swell of water that it was there to catch and prevent from going farther down the Guadalupe into New Braunfels and Green. And that's up 12 feet since July 4th. Medina, it's at 5%. That's up about 2.5%, 9 feet since July 4th. Travis up 23 feet. A lot of heavy rain along the Colorado River and even north of it as well in the San Gabriel. Buchanan's at 83%. That's 11-foot rise since July 4th. So look at the rainfall over the past 7 days. The white areas here indicate over a foot of rain, right? 12 inches or more. So throughout parts of the hill country and even up near Austin, just extraordinary amounts of rain. You go just outside of Lake Travis here, and it's 22 inches of rainfall over the past 7 days. Different timing and topography and setup, so the flooding wasn't as severe, but there still was flooding up here in this area farther to the north as you get closer to Burnett and all the way down into northern Travis County. You look at western Kerr County, of course, 13 inches estimated by radar. So still a little bit of rain-making energy over Texas and nearby, and even a little bit of tropical moisture coming in from the south because of the upper level high, the Big Blue H. It's over Florida. With that clockwise circulation around it, it helps feed more of that tropical moisture in place, which is what part of the problem was just such a saturated atmosphere and then slow moving and non-moving storms just really quickly squeezing it out. Well, the good news is the upper level high is settling in, and it's going to take over for several days. And that upper level high is going to keep us high and dry for a long stretch come Monday on into next week. Tomorrow, quiet again. It's Saturday. We talked about this earlier. Some just widely separated little pop-up downpours, kind of like we saw the past couple of days. Temps in the 90s. Bulverde 92, New Braunfels 93. 95 at the airport right now. By 9 o'clock, we're at 84, 11 o'clock down to 81. And a noticeable breeze. That's at least one benefit that we have out there right now. First responders, it's hot, it's sunny, it's humid, but there is some movement of the air. We have that southeast wind at 10 to 15, and that'll be the case again tomorrow. 75 in the morning, 89 at noon. 94 with a lot of sunshine tomorrow here in San Antonio. Kerrville 89 tomorrow, New Braunfels 95, and Divine at 93. There's that 30% chance of rain Saturday, and that's mainly just in the afternoon, and then sunny, high and dry. Coming up at 6, a year-to-date rain comparison and satellite imagery comparison as well.
All right, thank you, Adam. Communities across the state are tying green ribbons in honor of the lives lost at Camp Mystic in all of these hill country floods. We are leaving you as we go to break here with what we have seen as far as those remembrances here in San Antonio. The Alamo Area Council of Governments hosting an emergency blood drive tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. They are taking blood donations at the ACOG Tower building. That's on the 2700 block of Northeast Loop 410, right near Perrin Vital. You'll need to go to room 134. That's where the blood drive event will be. If you are interested, appointments are encouraged. We have more details on how to sign up for those on KSAT.com. Texas communities continuing to come together and lift up the most vulnerable in the wake of these devastating floods, and that includes Methodist Healthcare Ministries. They are committing $3 million to support flood relief and recovery efforts for those communities impacted by this flooding. Just over $1.1 million will provide emergency housing, shelter operations, grief counseling, and mental health services, plus any other immediate needs identified by local partners. The rest will go in a fund for ongoing and emerging community needs as the recovery continues. In response to the devastating 4th of July floods, we here at KSAT and KPRC out of Houston, plus our parent company, Graham Media Group, and Gray Media, which owns TV stations across the country, we're all partnering to launch an urgent donation drive called Together for Texas. You can scan that QR code there on your screen to take you directly to that donation page. The campaign aims to support relief and recovery efforts for families and communities severely impacted by this disaster. All of the money raised will go directly to on-the-ground efforts in the flood-affected areas through the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army's emergency disaster services teams are actively working in the affected communities. They are providing meals, hydration, emotional and spiritual care. They continue to call for more support to meet these growing needs.
Another quiet stretch of weather here. Tomorrow, one or two little downpours could pop up. Saturday, we'll have several of them, I think is the best way to put it, in the afternoon, especially between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. Shouldn't be any flooding problems other than, some wet roadways, puddles on some of the roadways. And that's just something to watch, particularly if you're traveling on Saturday. Then Sunday, 20% chance. Next week, we're high and dry. The upper level high sets in and it'll be warm, but we're not talking triple digits. Actually, the average high is 94. We'll be a little above that, Myra.
All right. Thank you, Adam. And thank you for watching the News at 5.